Hi, so welcome back to our weekly podcast where I summarize everything that we have discussed during the week and especially during our lead lecture. So my task today is to summarize everything in less than 5 minutes, making very compelling for you to watch all the way through the video. So I'm putting this stopwatch here and hopefully I can keep to the time. So what was the first topic that we have discussed? How one form of cultural manifestation became hegemonic. And this form of cultural manifestation that I'm mentioning here is achievement sport or competitive sport. We can say that competitive sport became what it is today in the 1800s and especially here in the British Isles. So from the British Isles it spread around the world and spread in two different ways, at least one through the formal empire and through the proto-colonies. So in the proto-colonies especially we have people there playing or seeking to play the same activities, the same sport that the British played. And why? Because it was fashionable to be British. So people want to mimic what the British did because this marked clear distinctions about class, power, and prestige. And at the same time, in the 1800s, we see the consolidation of what we understand today as a nation state. So the modern nation state became what it is in that same time that sport became what it is. And sport became the perfect battleground for nation states to compete. We can think about the reinvention of the modern Olympic Games in 1896 or the FIFA Men's World Cup at the beginning of the 1900s. So nation state, sport, and of course media. So how all the three come together. If you remember from the previous week, I mentioned that media has at least three main functions. One is to create a sense of a nation, and it does that by educating its readers or the audience or viewers. The second one is to entertain those same individuals. And the third one is to inform. We might think that media normally focus more on informing, less on educating or entertaining, but actually all the three functions happen at the same time. And here sport becomes, if not the primary, but one of the most important content for the media to achieve all those three goals. But why sport became so important to the media to become one of the key vehicles for achieving those three objectives? So at the end of the lecture, I showed the 7 factors developed by Bellamy in 2013 that shows how sport becomes this primary content. So for him, the first one is the reality factor. Sport is played by real people with real backstories, and media love to highlight those backstories. Remember in the lecture when I mentioned about the judo player from Brazil and the whole story between the London Olympics and the Rio Olympics? Yes, that is the idea. The second one is sport is regularly played, so we have competition happening during the 12 months of the year. So sport becomes a highly available content and is a very cheap content to produce. It's not only about the on-field activities, the games, but it's about everything else that media can put as a show about sport event. Sport as well has one very important aspect, which is its rules tend to be very simple, so it's highly translatable to other cultures. People around the world can follow the same sports. People understand, empathize with those stories and athletes and competitions. Normally it's very hard, and that's the fourth factor, very hard to find someone that actually hates sport. So that's the benign factor. We have another 2 factors, which are the loyalty and the facts factor, meaning that fans, they wouldn't just watch the 90 minutes, but they would consume all the ancillary products. So you see like all those docu-series on Netflix about Sunderland or Juventus. So sport is not about the 90 minutes or the 80 minutes if it's rugby, the 3 sets, 5 sets if it's tennis, and so on and so forth. Because sport has this very historical, ingrained participation of commercialization and especially advertising. Fans are used to have advertising being shown throughout the event, so there is no issue here between fans, advertising and media, and that's the ZAP-proof factor. We have the promotion factor, where sport is used for driving adoption of platforms or channels. So we have like the story of Sky with the Premier League, we have BT Sport with the Europa League and the Champions League now, and Amazon Prime with the Premier League. So they use sport as a catalyst to sell their bundles. And the last factor, integration factor. Sport clubs, federations, the IOC, they all realized that they are in the media industry. So now they became media producers. So they produce their own content, they distribute their own content, so they have their own channels, apps, and so on and so forth. So that's what I discussed during the week. Hopefully I did everything in less than 5 minutes, and see you next week.